Well, I know we had the Lord's Supper service, and so we're a little pressed for time today. I do have a full sermon prepared, but I know that we all get hungry. And some of us get sleepy. So, here's what I propose to do. I'm going to give you a sermon, just as I plan on doing, but I may only give you part of it today. You may have to come back. Actually, not next week, because I won't be here. I've got a friend of mine, Pastor Bill Holston, who will be here, who was the pastor of this church years ago, and he will be here in my stead to preach. Though Jeffrey will lead the song service, Sister Nina will be working with the Sabbath school. I'm going to pastor's conference in Wisconsin and try and meet with some other pastors, tell jokes, and poke each other in the ribs, give each other a hard time, that kind of stuff. Fellowship with some other pastors. But also, I think we're supposed to learn about church rhythm. So, we'll do that. Also, my wife reminded me to remind everyone here, the first full weekend, I guess it's actually the 10th, not in June. The weekend of the 10th in June, we'll be holding our Southwest Association meetings. Now, what I suspect is that most of our church will probably go up there for the Southwest Association meetings, so we may not have meetings that day. But we'd certainly like to invite anybody who wants to go take a trip with us to Texarkana. If you would like to do that, please let us know, and we'll make some arrangements with the Texarkana Churches sponsoring Southwest Association. They're making motel reservations. Southwest Association normally pays for accommodations. I don't know exactly what they're doing this year. They also have meals during that. And over the weekend, you get 3 or 4 sermons and some good food. And you get a chance to meet more Seventh-day Baptists. But besides that, we'll also do a little church business probably beginning the first day of the week. Next week, on that weekend. So it starts usually Friday night and goes through Sunday, or first day of the week, Sunday morning. So you're certainly invited. Please let us know if you'd like to do that. We've got to contact some folks up in Texarkana if you do. You told me to remember something else. What was it? What was it else I'm supposed to remember?
About anyone who might want to become a church member. We do that with the altar call and stuff.
Oh, yes. And so probably today at the end here I'll do a little bit of an invitation. Certainly don't feel any pressure, but it's at that time, if you don't have a relationship with the Lord, but you need one, that'd be a good time to tell him. If you are looking to move your church membership from somewhere else, that would be a good time to tell the church. And if you feel you need to make a recommitment to God, that would be a good time to tell them as well. Okay. So let's turn to Revelation chapter 10. Now, as you know, we ended up last time, we were at the end of the second woe, the end of the 6th trumpet. So today, just like at other places in the book of Revelation, where as we enter into the text today, you think that the 7th trumpet's going to follow immediately. Well, no, it's not. They're going to have an intermission here. Just like he took a break between the opening of the 6th seal and the opening of the 7th seal, guess what? He's going to take another break here. And during these breaks or intermissions, just like we found after the messages to the churches, there's kind of a break in chapter 4 and 5 before you get to those first of the 7 seals. Well, we're going to have another break. And what do these breaks do or intermissions do? They're going to tell us a little bit about the background, if you will, of the opening of or the blowing of the 7th trumpet. they're going to give us a little bit of a perspective on the spirit world as to what's going on during these time frames, these crises in human history. And they kind of give us the spiritual meaning of what's going on behind the breaking of seals, the blowing of trumpets. So that's what we're going to see here today. So we're not going to see any trumpets blow, but remember, we're right in that crack of history, right after the sixth trumpet is blown, but before the seventh is blown. And not only are we going to be there this time in chapter 10, but also chapter 11, verses 1 through 15, 1 through 14, deal with the story of the two witnesses, and we'll get into that some other time as to exactly what that means. But today, we're going to be talking about the big angel, or the little book. How about that? We'll call it the little book. But there's a big angel involved. He's big. He's really, really big. And that's what we're talking about. We'll talk about seven thunders, although we won't spend much time there. In fact, everybody's kind of hoping that I don't spend much time anywhere today, so we'll get out of here. All right. So let's take a look at the passage. Chapter 10. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face, as it were, the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire, and he had in his hand a little book open. And he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he cried, seven thunders uttered their voices. And when the seven thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which are in the seven thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and all the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. And but in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book, which is open in the hand of the angel, which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And when I went unto the angel, and I said to him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make the belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand, I ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many people, nations, tongues, and kings. All right, well, let's dig right in. First of all, we see a description of this mighty angel. This word mighty is kurios. It's kurios. And it means mighty or strong. But it's not just powerful in strength per se. It might be an influence or powerful in position. Right? I looked it up in Thayer's lexicon, and that's what it talks about. Now, there are several places where this term is used. Sometimes it's used of angels. It's used several times in the book of Revelation to speak of various angels. They are mighty. They are strong. They are majestic. Perhaps they're higher ranking angels. Okay. It's also used of God in the book of Revelation. He's talked about as strong in influence, power, in majesty, if you will. God is strong. It's used sometimes of men, this descriptive term. It's used of the men. Remember back earlier in the text, what was it, about chapter, let's see, I got it written down here. When it starts talking about men, they are described in chapter 6, verse 15. There are men described, and they're in kind of the class of the leadership of the community, like in the same breath as kings and magistrates and those sorts of things, who went and lived in the caves. You know, did you remember that in chapter 6 when they later pulled down the rocks upon them? Those people, there were some of them described as mighty. So they might have political influence. They might be strong in that sort of way. This angelic being is strong. This angelic being is described as strong. He is clothed in a cloud. Now, if we were to go back to the book of Matthew, and if we were to look, I think Matthew 26, there's also a passage, 26 verse 64, there's also a passage in Matthew 24 and other places in the Scripture. Guess who returns in clouds in Scripture? Jesus is telling people, well, if I go away, look, I'm going to come again, and here I come. I'm going to come in clouds of heaven. Right? So it does represent, if you will, these clouds kind of represent that divine presence. But clearly this angel here, and some commentators might argue that, but clearly this angel is not Jesus Christ. He's just a powerful angel. And the reason I say that is because later in the text, it pictures him as making it whole by the one who created all things. Well, he's not going to make it whole by himself. So it's not Jesus. It's a powerful angel. Some commentators tie this angelic being to Michael the archangel. All right, let's look at another characteristic of this angel. His face was as bright as the sun. Now, a lot of commentators took this description and tied it to the fact that he's got this rainbow around him. And of course, that rainbow represents, in some passages, peace. God gave man peace by not flooding the earth again. That rest. Peace and rest. So they say, well, you got the continents that's bright as the sun, and he's got this rainbow around his head, so therefore this represents peace and light. Well, I don't know, because I'm not really told what all these things represent. What I think they do tell us is because we do see the throne room of God surrounded, if you will, by a rainbow. We see the powerful nature of this particular angel. In other words, he's way high up there on the messenger ladder. God did not send this message by a lower tiered angel. He sent it by a high tiered angel whose face is as bright as the sun, who has a rainbow surrounding his head. And not only that, he's got pillars of fire on his feet. Well, pillars of fire, clouds of smoke, we're kind of reminded of Exodus, and guess what? That's where the presence of God was. So here, at least, this angelic being must be someone who spends most of his time. He's really, really important. Spends most of his time in the presence of God, in the presence of the divine. That's kind of what these symbols seem to mean to me. Now, if you've got a different commentary which says something else, that's fine. But just remember, only one of us is right. Okay? Only one of us is right because there's only one interpretation of this passage. I'm not going to have my feelings hurt if I'm wrong, because I don't have too much invested in this interpretation. But I will tell you that it seems to indicate that this angelic being is pretty powerful, and that's the description that's given of it. All right, but not only that, not only do we have a description of the mighty angel in verses 1 through 3 and 5 through 6, but we also have a discussion of the seven thunders in verses 3 and 4. And before you get carried off into discussing the seven thunders, here's something I'd like to tell you. I knew a guy, when I was about 25 years old, I knew a guy that spent most of his waking hours worrying about what the seven thunders said. Really? I did. He thought he had the keys to know exactly what the seven thunders said. And he was worried about it. I've never been worried about it. Look, this passage clearly says to John to not write down what they said. Okay? Don't write it down. In fact, in the Greek in this text, it says, in essence, here's what it's saying. If I can paraphrase just a little, I'm going to try to catch the essence, the meaning of the Greek sentence. He's saying, don't you dare even begin to write. Just stop that. That voice from heaven is telling John, don't even think about writing this down. So if God or his representative said to John in a command, don't write this down, and John didn't write it down, and he tells me in the book of Revelation through his servant John that John was told not to write it down, then it must not be any of my business. Okay? So I'm not worried about what the seven thunders said. It must have been a message that was important to John because he got it. Nobody else since John has gotten it. Well, maybe when I get to the kingdom, I might ask John what the seven thunders told me. But right now, I'm not worried about it. I think that what this passage tells us is specifically that there are still mysteries God holds within his own realm. I don't know everything. I'm not going to know everything until everything's revealed. And neither are you. And I'm not supposed to worry about it. God says later in this passage that when the seventh angel speaks, he will reveal his mysteries. But guess what? The seventh angel hasn't spoken. Right? The seventh trumpet hadn't blown. The mystery isn't revealed. So until Christ returns, until the seventh trumpet is blown, there's just some things we aren't going to know. The seven thunders are one of those. All right, let's talk lastly about the little book. The little book. Here's the little book. It's mentioned early on in verse 2. It's open. The big angel has it. And I say it was a really big angel because you think about it, he's standing with 1 foot on the land and 1 foot on the ocean. He's kind of covering all the bases, if you will. He's really, really big. And again, I think that speaks to his importance, but it speaks to something else. It speaks to the fact that his message, which is contained in that little book, is for the whole world. And we'll see that as well. It not only covers all of mankind. This message that's contained in the little book. It's not just for the Jews. It's not just for the churches. It's going to cover every kindred and tongue. We see that in the last verse of the chapter. Let's take a look there. In verse 11, it says, "And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings." There's no longer a distinction. Everybody is to get this message. Okay. Now, what is the little book? It is indeed the message of God. Now, we can see parallel passages. If we were to turn back to the book of Ezekiel, let's see. Ezekiel. See if I wrote that down here. Ezekiel, chapter 2, verse 9. "And when I looked, behold, and a hand was sent out unto me, and lo, a roll of a book therein, and he spread it before me," verse 10, "and it was written within and without, and there were written lamentations and mourning and woe." Chapter 3, verse 1. "Now he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat the roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll I give thee. And then I did eat, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness." Now this is very similar to what happens to John. John is told to take this message, to go to the angel, ask him for the message. He goes to the angel, asking for the message in this little book. He's told to eat the book. And he's told it would be sweetness in his mouth. But it would be bitterness in his stomach. Now look at what Ezekiel, what I just quoted, was told was written on the book inside and out. Well, there was woe and trouble and all sorts of things. And he was told to give that message to the house of Israel. But it tasted sweet in his mouth. Well, we kind of got a picture of what happens to John. John is given the little book to eat. It is sweetness in his mouth, and it is bitterness in his belly. The content of Ezekiel's message was woe and lamentations. Well, guess what's getting ready to happen in the seventh trumpet? What's the message going to be? It's going to be woe and lamentations. More and more, the message gets more serious. We're going to have the seven last plagues, or the seven bowl judgments, which are going to make up the seventh trumpet. The seventh trumpet hasn't blown. The angel and the little book and the seven thunders are in the intermission before that takes place. And so, this message to John, and to us by proxy, is that message between the woes. That message that tells us what's going to happen next, why it's going to happen. John is told here to eat the book. Right? His message is full of woe and trouble, but it's also full of good things. This message which John has now in eating the book takes place from the place where we are in the text, chapter 11, 10 and 11, and it takes us on through the rest of the book. Now, we got a lot of trouble and woe and bad things that happen between chapter 10 and about chapter 19. Guess what? There's a lot of trouble, woe, and lamentation. A lot of judgment takes place. But what happens in chapter 19 is going to be that Christ is going to return. Christ is going to triumph. Christ is going to set up his kingdom. Chapter 19, 20, 21, 22 tell a beautiful story about the millennial kingdom. And, I might add, the ages of the So there is a bitter, sweet story. The message of Christians, the message Christians have to share to the world is the gospel. And I'm going to tell you, the gospel message is not all warmth and light. There is a lot of warning. And there is a lot of woe for those who don't come along. Now guess what? It's sweet to have that message and that assurance of eternity. But it is bitter to think about the woe and lamentation associated with those that don't turn to God. That's the thing that John now has. He's eaten this message. By eating the message, and again, similar to the Ezekiel passage, I can read a message. I can study a message. I can read the book. I can read the words on the book. I can recite them. There's some pretty smart people in the world who can probably recite the Bible better than I can. In fact, I know them. But they're atheists. Or they're agnostics. They don't believe in God. Okay. Some people who have that ability, maybe they know the stories of the Old Testament. Some college professors who spend their whole lives talking about the kings of Israel. But they don't believe in God. Well, they might technically know it better than I do by reading words and parsing verbs and nouns and adverbs. But I can tell you what they don't know. They don't know the person who wrote the book. And here's what happens. John, just like Ezekiel, is told to take the message and to eat it. And in Ezekiel, it gives us a little more graphic terms. Let it go down the brook. John was to completely understand the message of God because it had become part of his life. When I eat food, what happens? I break that food down. Some of it becomes part of me. Some of it, it goes out another way. But some of it becomes part of me. And here John is taking the Word of God into his life by eating the little book. And it makes such an impression on him that he is given the command, which we just read a while ago. That's the last verse of this text. Let's go back there. It says, "And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings." John is prepared by eating the little book to go out and share the message of God because it was part of his nature. And he was to share it to everyone. Okay. Well, we kind of looked at the passages today. Let's summarize it real quick. Let's summarize. I had to stop talking in my southern drawl, my natural southern drawl, because I know I had to do this fast. For you southerners, we'll slow it down. Podcast version. God's message is very important. God's message is very important. In this passage, it's delivered by a very important messenger. Sits at the highest seats of the angelic kingdom. And it's given to John, but it's in essence given to the church as well. So the message of God is very important. It is a message for the whole of mankind. It doesn't stop here and say, this is a message for the church. It doesn't stop here and say, this is a message for the Jewish nation. Now that Ezekiel passage we just read said, he said to Ezekiel, go and prophesy to Israel. Okay, so Ezekiel's message was for them. This one, John is told to go and speak to all kindreds, nations, tongues, diverse nations, tongues. So this is a message for the whole world. The gospel is a message that God has given us that is very important, has been delivered by the highest counsels of God, and is a message to the whole world. It's God's saving salvation message. It's extremely important to the church. The nature of the message is more important than other religious matters. You know, some of the divisions in the Christian churches are over small matters. Very small matters. Not salvation issue matters. The bottom line is this. The message of God, the message of the little book, was much more important than the message of the seven thunders for the people of God. Could there have been important stuff in the message of the seven thunders? Well, it could have been important enough to sound like thunder. But you know what was more important? The message in the little book. The gospel message that John was given to share out the rest of what would happen in the book of Revelation. Sometimes, some of the things we do for Christianity are not that important. The message is important. And there's some people with a little corner on some area of doctrine that's probably ready to run me out of town with rail, tar and amphetamine, or do something. But people get wrapped up in small things and lose the big picture. The Christian church is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to teach all nations. That's what the big things are for us to do. Some of the other stuff needs to fall into place. The message of God is important. The last thing I think we learn here in this passage is that the message produces great joy. You know, in the scripture it talks about the fact that the angels in heaven rejoice over even one sinner who repents. It produces great joy. It's a wonderful thing to know our place in eternity, that our future is secure, that Jesus Christ has come and will take care of our sin problem. Great joy. But with this joy, with this message you receive, there's also great lamentation as well. Great lamentation. People that tell you that when you become a Christian, all your troubles end, they are lying to you. Because they don't. And I'll tell you what, it's hard for someone who hasn't recognized that. When a loved one dies without accepting Jesus Christ, that's a matter of woe and tribulation. And guess what? Sooner or later, it's going to happen to you in your life. from this great angel with a rainbow around his head, from the message of the little book, from the lack of the message of the seven thunders. As we close out today, I would like to invite anyone who's in search of church home, anyone who maybe hasn't made that commitment in the past but feels a necessity to make a commitment to Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior, I give you an invitation to do that through the altar of our church. For those of you who maybe have been Christians, have dedicated your lives, but you feel like you slipped back from that commitment, that you backslid, I give you this opportunity to come and pray at our altar, spend some time and get your life